LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
When you want your spring break to feel like... and your kids' pool day to feel like... and your hotel bed to feel like... ooh, and room service to feel like... because at Hilton, hospitality feels like...
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
it matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
Hey everyone, it's Anne here. Just before we get into today's episode, I wanted to let you know about a fundraiser that I'm doing. I'm selling t-shirts and hoodies that say Rebel, and all proceeds from these sales will support the Women's Foundation of Minnesota. You can support this fundraiser at vulgarhistory.com/Minnesota. That's vulgarhistory.com/Minnesota until February 8th, 2026. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Welcome to Vulgar History, a feminist women's history comedy podcast. My name is Anne Foster, and we are in our Regency era. We're talking about all the scandalous people who lived in the early part of the 1800s. So it's like Jane Austen era, Bridgerton era, like that. That's honestly, like, we think of it as this kind of like nice, polite time where everyone's just attending balls and arranging marriages. And if you listen to last week's episode, we were talking about Georgiana, Duchess of Devonshire. Last week, we talked about her first part of her life, which was a lot of unhappy marriage, a lot of hats, a lot of drugs, a lot of gambling. And part 2 is going to be more of all of those things. I'm joined again by Amanda Matta. Welcome, Amanda. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you for having me once again.
There's so much we're going to get into. Like, Georgiana's life was wild in part 1, but it gets yet more wild in part 2 because she's holding on until she had a son. Like, she had to have a legitimate heir, and there couldn't be any question about who the paternity of that child. But now that she's had a son, she can do some more stuff, which she's going to do, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But first, there's a painting I want to discuss with you. And you wanted to discuss, and I love that we both had the same painting that we wanted to discuss. The painting is from her Georgiana Part 1 era, earlier in her life, but it's so cool. We have to talk about it.
Yeah. And it's not the Gainsborough painting, which I think it's even funnier that we both had this other one in our notes, which just speaks to how iconic it was. But yeah, it's from 1775. And I did not know it existed until I did this research. But it shows Georgiana and 2 of her besties in the guise of the 3 witches from Macbeth. They have pointy hats. They have a cauldron. It's like
one
fabulous.
of them is flying.
Yeah, she is, isn't she? Yeah. So it's Georgiana. She is throwing things into the cauldron. Elizabeth Lamb, who is, we learned, the mother-in-law of Caroline Lamb, another scandalicious figure from this era, or a little later, and Anne Damer, who is a sculptress.
Anne Damer, we're going to learn more about her. I forget if it's next month or the month after, but there will be an Anne Damer episode, and she was historically very good friends with a woman who was her lifelong companion. She was a Sapphic sculptor, and I love that she was in this painting.
It's so good. Of course, Georgiana, like, you know that account where I think it's parody of tradwife content. There's the mom who like only ever shows her face from that very specific 3/4 angle. Like, that's what Georgiana is giving in this portrait, which I'm sure was the artist's choice and not hers. But I also love her little dainty witch's hat perched on top of her poof.
The whole concept of it, when I forget, I think I first came across this painting when I was researching Anne Damer, and I was just like, who is it? She's with Georgiana? I'm like, of course she is. That hat.
What are you doing here?
But it just kind of like 3 besties. I don't even know. It's just like it feels very contemporary to me to just like, hey, let's dress up as the Powerpuff Girls, or let's dress up as whatever. So you and your friends, like, let's just do a photo shoot for fun.
Yeah, totally spies.
Let's hire, is this portrait? It's not Gainsborough, it's somebody else. Or is it?
No, it's somebody else. It's at the National Portrait Gallery. It's by Daniel Gardner.
Let's hire this portrait artist to paint us like the three witches from Macbeth, not as like, let's paint us as like three muses of Greek history or as whatever. Like the three, it's such a funny picture and I love it so much.
I love
and it really
a lot.
speaks to Georgiana. It was just like,
well, apparently I was reading too that these three women all would get together at Althorp, which is where Georgiana grew up, and do amateur theatric productions of Shakespeare.
This might be like a picture of a thing that they did.
Maybe, but also it could have just been for the drama. Like, I don't know if they ever actually staged Macbeth. They had a theater at their disposal, much like Marie Antoinette did, where they would pretend to be famous actresses. So there was that.
I love this painting so much. And I love that Anne Damer is in it, partially because like I'd never heard of Anne Damer before I started researching Caroline of Brunswick, who I wrote a book about called Rebel of the Regency that everybody should pre-order. But Anne Damer was one of Caroline of Brunswick's ride or dies. Like when everybody abandoned Caroline of Brunswick, when she was eschewed from all of society, Anne Damer was just like, that's my girl, and stuck by her side. She's like, I am a lesbian sculptress who lives in Strawberry Hill, and I'm right. And so I'm like, I'm all about Anne Damer. So I'm excited that she and Georgiana were friends, because Anne Damer was a real one. Like she was a good person to have on your side. She was like head on her shoulders. Like there was a lot of bitches around Georgiana, but Anne Damer was like a cool person.
Well, and all three of these women, so the other one is Elizabeth Viscountess Melbourne. So they all had like political influence too. And for Georgiana, she would have been kind of up and coming in that area. But I guess painting them as the witches was a subtle way of like commenting on how they influenced men in power, because the witches in Macbeth are the ones that encourage him to seize power. And all three of the women here are supporters of Charles Fox, which I think is cute. You're saying he's Macbeth in this situation, I guess.
There's all these layers to it. I love it. I wonder if part of it is sort of like, yeah, we know we're being criticized for doing this, but just like, we're owning it. Like,
yep. Yeah. But I mean, they're not throwing gross stuff like Eye of Newt or whatever, baby's fingers into the cauldron. They're throwing like lavender, and Georgiana has like a very dainty little slipper peeking out from under her dress. And I guess it's Anne Damer has like all of these astrological symbols on her dress, which is very like 2012 Tumblr core of her.
Yeah.
But I love it. I don't know how many more ways I can say I love it.
It's exactly like what you said, like Tumblr. It's like, it feels very contemporary to me.
Yeah.
Together with your besties and have this portrait done. It's like, yeah, lots of Elizabeth Vigée-Lebrun painted lots of women as lots of like Greek, goddesses and stuff. But just like, this is just such a like
this
silly
is more
thing.
Hardcore. Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it's not just like we're presenting ourselves as these like, patrons of whatever. It's just like, yeah, we're witches. Fuck you. Like, I love it.
Yeah. We're so charming. We hold the reins of society, and like, what are you going to do about it? Yeah.
We're witches, and we're also hot. We're hot witches. Like, here's what's up.
Yeah, I love it. I noted on the National Portrait Gallery's website, just a tidbit, it was accepted by the government in lieu of tax, which means at some point, I'm guessing it was the Devonshire family. It could have been either Anne Damer's family or Melbourne's family, though, that owned it, couldn't pay somebody's death duties and had to give this painting to the nation as a result. So indebted aristocracy is the reason we know that this painting exists.
So it was maybe like a private painting, and now we know, like, it was just kind of like, let's just have a funny Polaroid, but now it's just like, oh, we have to donate this to the National Portrait Gallery. Okay.
The gallery website says because the composition has no parallel in the artist's like body of work, it's assumed that the women were the ones suggesting that we made this picture. So like they would have commissioned him to do this. So it is like a private inside joke almost, just like the nicknames we talked about Georgiana having for people in her life.
Georgiana was such a good time. Like,
yeah,
everybody loved her because everybody should, because she sounds great. So where we last left her, I mean, listen to part 1, y'all. But we left her, she had a son. She has 3 kids. She's got little G. She's got Harry-O.
She kind of has 4, but also kind of 6 if you count Bess's and her husband's illegitimate children.
The nursery is very full of children, and not all of them. A lot of them share at least one parent. All of them share one parent. All of them are the children.
It's a blended family.
So she had the children, and then what happens? What happens is she is able to take a lover because she's had a son.
Yes. And she's in good company. Again, women of the era did this, but only after you had kind of fulfilled your marital duties, or if you came up from being like kind of a courtesan. We're going to talk about Emma Lady Hamilton eventually, you and I. Mm-hmm. She was another one of this era who like was famous for her affair with, spoiler, Lord Nelson. But there was also Lady Jersey and Lady Melbourne who was in that portrait with Georgiana. Lady Melbourne was. So there's a lot of women in this era having affairs with men who were not their husbands. Some husbands were okay with it. Some were not. Georgiana's sister, Harriet, who had a very unfortunate marriage, she had an affair that did not go well. I don't know how far down that road you want to go.
I think we won't get too much into Harriet's story because I might do a whole episode about her later. But something I wanted to mention that also happened in this era is so Georgiana has been besties with Prinny, George, the Prince of Wales.
Yep.
We talked last time a bit about it. She became sort of like an advisor to George, the Prince of Wales, aka Prinny. Because Georgiana is like, she's all up in the, like, again, as much as we don't want to talk about Whigs and Tories, she was all about Whigs and Tories, and she was very knowledgeable about the politics of it all. Yep. And I respect that about her, and I will not talk about it because I'm not interested in that. Anyway, so she was involved with George, the Prince of Wales. Like, they got along, and part of that, I think, is just like he liked to party, she liked to party. They were both in debt all the time. Like,
he was connecting her to creditors. Yeah, like you have to be friends with him in that situation.
So I talk about this in my book, Rebel of the Regency. This is where Georgiana comes into my book. So Prinny was in love with this woman called Maria Fitzherbert, who was a widow.
She's in my book too. I write a little bit about her in my forthcoming book.
Yeah, your book, which is about, what's your book?
So my book, it's forthcoming next spring. So it's at the editor right now, but it's called The Royal Tea, A Commoner's Guide to the British Monarchy. And so I go through every like area of life in regards to the royals, and it's just nonfiction, kind of like a guidebook. And I have a whole chapter on scandals. So I got to do some research on Maria, and that was crazy. I didn't know half of that stuff.
I will, well, not to spoil either of books, but I'll just say how Georgiana comes into it. Is that, so Prinny, George, the Prince of Wales, was obsessed with this woman, Maria Fitzherbert, who was a widow. So she was technically available to be with him, to marry him, except for she was Catholic. And so at that time, and you know about all this from your recent royal work, but like there's various legislations that said like the heir to the throne of Great Britain cannot marry a Catholic woman. Right. If they do, then they disinherit themselves effectively. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then also what the rules were at that time were that if the heir to the British throne was going to get married, he had to get his father's permission. So he knew that his father would not give him permission to marry Maria Fitzherbert because she's Catholic, but he wanted to be with her. And she, in like a true like Anne Boleyn adjacent way, was like, I will not be your mistress. I will only be your wife. So then he's
Which is
like,
her
okay,
right.
Yeah. But it's like, he's not going to disinherit himself from the throne because no. So what he does, which is the same thing that the character Will does in an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, effectively.
Yes.
Is he pretended to marry somebody so that he could sleep with her.
Mm-hmm.
So what Prinny does is he's like, I want you to marry me. And she's like, well, no, I don't know if I want to do that. And then Prinny, he had a habit of faking suicide attempts to get his wife.
Guess I'll die. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he wrote a letter. Anyway, Georgiana gets involved with this because Prinny claims to have tried to kill himself. And then he's like, and I'll go through with it unless I can see Maria Fitzherbert. And somehow Georgiana gets called upon to like accompany them both because she's Prinny's friend or something. So she's in the room witnessing this. But I think she was called because Prinny wanted a witness. And what he said was just like, Maria, if you don't marry me, I will kill myself. Yeah. And Mariah's like, okay, well, don't do that, buddy. Okay, I'll marry you. And then Georgiana lends them a ring, and that kind of is their like betrothal thing. Yeah. And then this becomes a secret because if anyone finds out that this is happening, then he will be disinherited. So it becomes a secret marriage.
Secret sexy marriage.
Super secrets. I'm going to say not sexy marriage.
Not sexy marriage. Yeah. I when I said it.
Secret. We do have a fun ongoing thing on this podcast of super secret sexy marriages, but this one is Prinny is involved, so it is not sexy. And it is also manipulative and pretty gross. Anyway, so he marries Maria Fitzherbert. Georgiana is one of the only people that knows they're actually married. Nobody else can know because he will be disinherited.
She would have loved that, to be the one person, like the witness. She would have loved that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for her.
So she's involved just in that aspect of it. So I wanted to mention that because it just shows how close she is to him. And he's the whole thing. This is like, we won't get into this because we're just focusing on Georgiana, but eventually Prinny becomes the regent because his father, George III, like just becomes incapable of leading the country.
Right.
But there's a previous scare where it seems like George III and Prinny is going to be the regent. So but Georgiana is in such close proximity to the person who might be effectively the king, like that she's got his ear, that she's influential. Like this just shows how up there she is.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, because of this, there were rumors she was having an affair with the Prince of Wales, also because he was having affairs with many people himself. But I don't think that was true.
I'm pretty confident that that wasn't true. I read, there's a whole book that I read from mine. I didn't read the book, but it was a book about the mistresses and wives of every British monarch. And it was a list of all of them and the evidence for all of them and what were their alleged children. And Georgiana was not listed there. Like people said that she had an affair with him, but it's like, we know who he had affairs with. And it was these 35 people.
Sure.
Like
35.
Yeah. I think it was something like 35.
Wow.
Anyway, Georgiana was busy with other people, which we'll get to.
Yes.
But so what happens is she has a son. The French Revolution happens. She leaves France. She's back in England. And okay, so that we'll pick up from there. What's next for Georgiana?
Well, okay. So once she's gotten the baby making taken care of, her husband's now free to pay off some of her debts because he can mortgage his estate. I think she gets like financial benefits from producing a son as well, which is crazy, but it would have been written into her marriage contract. But now she's also free to kind of enter, I like to think of it as like her self-actualization era. So like she's trying on all these different things before she has her son, collecting crystals, gambling, writing. But in this latter half of her life, she is still kind of doing all that, but it's less frantic, I would say. And she's also now free to take on lovers of her own. So before the big one that most people focus on, there was allegedly the unmarried Duke of Dorset, which I don't know a lot about, that she is thought to have also had an affair of. And then people also talked about Charles Fox. That's still kind of a question mark. Even Amanda Foreman like kind of refers to it at some points, like she might have been his lover as well as his political like patron in many ways. But that's a big question mark. Again, I don't know where I fall on that.
So we do know, confirmed, her lover is Earl Grey.
Earl Grey. Charles Grey, 7 years younger than her. So she's a cougar.
We're talking about Earl Grey, and I need to pause to have a conversation about Earl Grey.
Let's do it.
Because I love Earl Grey tea. I'm currently drinking Earl Grey tea. I am always excited. Honestly, excited is the right word. Whenever I'm reading something in history and I realize like, wait, this phrase I've been saying, that's a person. Like the same way when I find like the Earl of Sandwich, I'm like, wait,
I was just thinking sandwich.
Sandwich, like sandwiches. It's like, oh, that's where sandwiches come from. So Earl Grey tea has got a contentious history. Who invented it? But his family is credited. He is the Earl of Earl Grey tea. Yes. His wife might have invented it. So you tell me the Earl Grey tea history that you're familiar with, and then I'll recently learned.
Yeah. So this comes from research I actually did for the Pennsylvania Tea Festival a couple years ago. So I know it's a very fun event in September every year near where I live.
I am obsessed with how many festivals. You just went to a butter carving festival. Like the things you get
the Pennsylvania Farm Show. Please put some respect on the farm show. Yeah, we have a lot of weird festivals here in PA. But I did this talk on like the royal history of tea. And so in researching that, the Earl Grey connection comes up a lot. And nobody really knows like how it got its name, but it's kind of agreed now that Earl Grey like loved Earl Grey tea and made it popular, but probably didn't invent it. So the guy who did would be Sir Joseph Banks, who I don't know if you've ever talked about on this podcast, but if you do talk about like the science of the Georgian era, he comes up a lot. He was the imperial botanist to King George III. And he's the person who first suggested growing tea in India, which Britain has colonized at this point. So he has a lot of really strange ideas about how to grow tea in India, including importing it from China, because he doesn't really realize that India has its own native tea plants, which is funny in and of itself. But he also proposes at some point that the British East India Company invests in an alternative supply of tea because China is monopolizing it. Like, how dare they? This thing that they've grown for centuries. Anyway, so in this quest to come up with a new like pipeline for tea to import to Britain, because it's very popular at this point, he kind of gets turned on to this blend that in China grows next to orange blossoms. And for that reason, in China, a lot of blends of tea are flavored with orange. The problem is it's hard to import that to Britain. So instead, he substitutes bergamot oil, which is not native to China. It's grown in Europe. But Banks finds this to be like the closest substitute for the neroli oil that comes from orange plants in China. So it's a colonial substitution, but it creates what we now think of as the Earl Grey blend. And Banks was supposedly a very close friend of Charles Grey, who loved the blend, helped to spread it, and made it popular. So Banks is said to have named it after him as like a thank you gesture for, I would assume, getting him a return on his years of investment in the tea trade, because like this was not cheap. This was like 30 years of work and colonialism, trying to set up tea plantations in a country that already had its own native tea production. Like a lot of work and effort went into this. So I think that's why he named it Earl Grey, in honor of his friend.
Well, and this is him. This is he. Earl Grey, who Georgiana is about to embark on a very considerable love affair with, is that Earl Grey. So
Popular
I was excited.
Guy.
But also it's the sort of thing, like I'm always learning new things. Like I had finished my book was submitted, and I read the Amanda Foreman book, and I'm just like, oh, now I know more about Earl Grey. I'm like, he was in my book, because he just shows up as like a political guy. Like he's
the prime minister.
Yeah, he eventually, exactly. So I was just like, and that was where I was like, Earl Grey from Earl Grey Tea. So what I need to tell you is this is a small advertisement for a business that I just discovered. Unpaid advertisement, if you want to clear that, just a place that I'm now obsessed with. So I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, but this store does have a website. It's called the Teapothecary. You would be obsessed, Amanda. So it's a woman who I think is our soulmate, who researches tea blends from history and then recreates them and then sells them.
Oh my. I'm bookmarking this right now.
No, exactly. So I visited there when I was last visiting Halifax, Nova Scotia. Again, they have a website. It's like teapothecarytea.com.
Sense and Sensibilities.
Yeah. Oh my God. So she has two strains. One of them is like historical recreations of teas, and one of them is like teas inspired by literature. So I do have I didn't bring it with me, but I do have the Dorian Gray Earl Grey tea, which is like a sinful Earl Grey tea. But I also have with me, I have the Gray's Mixture. I'll just show you the Gray's Mixture.
Okay.
And then she has like little historical fun facts on the back of all the tea bags. So it says, Earl Grey comes from a criminal and sordid past. The first known appearance came in the 1830s when two tea merchants sued one another over the rights to sell this new tea blend. It's being sold as an expensive Chinese tea, but was in fact a forgery. The flavor came from the addition of bergamot and a number of other ingredients added to lower quality tea.
Yep.
The merchants succeeded in getting this tea banned, but it was not long before it reappeared under the name Gray's Mixture and eventually Earl Grey.
Oh, so it was a copyright battle too.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So I got this. So this is the Gray's blend. They also have the Dorian Gray tea. There's also Lady Grey tea as well.
I love Lady Grey.
They have one inspired by Thomas Jefferson's plantation Monticello is the name of the blend.
That's fun.
I wanted to show you this one as well. This is their royal tea, Queen Victoria's favorite tea.
Ooh.
It's like we don't love Queen Victoria, but
she also did love tea.
She did. She loved Darjeeling. Anyway, so as the Queen was an admired trendsetter, the rage for Darjeeling with lemon soon took hold. So now you too can drink tea like royalty. I visited this store and I was just like, I am obsessed with this store. Like the entire concept of just like recreating tea from history. Yeah. I'm just like, could not be more Anne core.
Love.
Possibly. So I've been trying to find a way to bring this up in the podcast, and I just did.
It was like tailor-made. Fabulous. So yeah, Georgiana gets to have an affair with Earl Grey.
So you know what? She's probably drinking Earl Grey tea. She's probably drinking tea with bergamot if she's hanging out with him. That's what he's doing.
It might have been a little early, just from what I know about the history of tea. Like at this time, like Twinings in London would have been the only like place you could have gone to drink it, because it doesn't become like it's a novelty at this point. So it doesn't become like a mainstay until Victoria, pretty much. And it's her friend, her bestie, the Duchess of Bedford, who introduces like afternoon tea, because she complains that she gets a sinking feeling in the afternoon because dinner was so late in this era, but lunch was a little too early. So it's what I like to compare to like the 3 p.m. slump, where you just need a little something.
The concept of like a British afternoon tea comes from this. Wow.
Yep. So, and she was Victoria's Duchess of the or Lady of the Bedchamber. So that's kind of where it becomes part of British culture. So Georgiana probably would have had tea, but most likely not the Earl Grey blend. She was having the real thing, the real Earl Grey. But like it would have been more, it was advertised as a health drink at this time. Mm-hmm. So the more you know.
Actually, speaking of, because this is, we warned you last time, there will be tangents, but I was really excited because Earl Grey, like that's my beverage. That's what I drink. That's the only tea I drink. I'm all about, I love a London fog moment. Like anything Earl Grey is. So the fact that Earl Grey is in the story, I'm excited. But speaking of the medicinal properties, Georgiana, health problems. She has migraines.
Yes.
Throughout her whole life, which is, and she's living in a time, like God knows, like even now, like migraines, like no one really knows. You can't fix it. You can treat it. But back then it's like, we'll treat it with leeches. We'll treat it with bloodletting. Like, that's what was happening. And so like she'd have to take to her room in the dark. Like she had migraines, like we understand them now.
Mm-hmm. She eventually, like, didn't she lose the sight in one of her eyes because of her like headaches?
We will get to the eyeball
stuff.
That's later in her life, but she does have health problems. So I think perhaps this is part of why she's turning to opium.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Various points of pain in her life that she's trying to quell. And at this point, she's done the baby making thing. So she has another outlet available to her, which is affairs. So we know for a fact she had this one.
Like just to remind everybody from last time, in case they forgot, her husband sucks and hates her. So she just wants love. She just wants affection. And so she finds somebody who likes her, who is Earl Grey, who is at this point, you said, 17 years younger or something?
7 years younger. Yeah.
7 years.
Yep. So not too bad, but his like career he's active for like another 40 years after Georgiana dies. He's an up-and-coming
Whig, right? Obviously, she would never have an affair with a Tory. Like, she's very
in the movie, he's played by Dominic West, I think it is. He's very cute in the
Dominic
movie.
West.
I think that's who it is. Nope, not Dominic West. Sorry, the other one.
The one from Mamma Mia.
Cooper?
Dominic Cooper.
Dominic Cooper. Yeah. Yep. So he's, I assume dreamy. He is an up and coming political figure, and she's still active in politics at this time. So she has an affair with him, and it goes really well until she gets pregnant, not by her husband.
The thing about this is, like, one would think, I had thought it's like, well, she could just pretend that her husband's the father, but it's like he knows and she knows that they have not had sex in a really long time. Like, if she's
because
pregnant,
she's done her job, she's had a boy.
Yeah, and like he hates her. Like, why would they? He's got Bess. Like, he's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Bess continues her second son with the Duke. Let me find it here. So
I feel like
Georgiana has her son in 1790.
The two sons are like simultaneous. Bess's son and her son with the same man. I think they were potentially conceived the same week, like when Georgiana and Bess look at the dates.
Yeah, they're very close. And Bess's second son is named Sir Augustus Clifford. They call him Clifford or Cliff because that is one of the Duke's subsidiary titles. So they're not being subtle about this at the same time, which sucks.
At this time, like at first, initially when Bess first got pregnant by the Duke, she kind of tried to hide it. She went in exile and all this stuff. But now she's just kind of like, yeah, it happened again. And Georgiana's like, that's cool. Yeah. You're my bestie. Like, let's have sons. We're like that time when all those Kardashian sisters all had babies at the same time. It's like, we're pregnant together.
The pregnancy pact. Yeah.
Yes.
That was like a real thing they tried to dissuade us from it doing in high school. I remember.
You're from that era.
That's how relevant it was to my era. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these two had children by the same man and the son, and they were both sons and they were born at the same time. Well, they had this one, but now Georgiana's pregnant again. And this is the issue because eventually it becomes, actually, it wasn't this pregnancy because this becomes a whole thing. One of her other pregnancies, because Georgiana is such a trendsetter. So people started wearing fake pregnancy bellies because she was pregnant. Like she was so much
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh.
I heard Georgiana had a pregnant belly. So I like they got foam or whatever they had back then, like cork pads to look pregnant. She was pregnant and she looked so beautiful pregnant. And was just like, let's do that too. Like this, she still got this influence. It's bananas.
Yeah, that is
delightful.
But she, with this pregnancy though, she does not get to be the darling of society. She essentially gets exiled. The Duke sends her to France, where she is going to give birth, which means she is separated from her other children. And this is like, Foreman calls it the great tragedy of her life because she loved her kids. She loved being a mom. And she says the Duke essentially kidnapped her children in revenge for her love affair. His brutal assertion of male right forced Georgiana to redefine herself. And from that moment, her life was no longer about possibilities, but about consequences. It's very poetic.
Well, and this is why I felt like when we're knowing this would be a 2-part episode, I felt like part 1, part 2. And the thing about her, I just want to mention, like, I forget how you phrased it there, but it's the like parental authority. We see this also in the story of Caroline of Brunswick, which I talk about in my book, Rebel of the Regency. Well,
and Bess in this same story, like her husband had kept her children away from her. Yeah.
Part of what kept women in terrible marriages. It's because husbands had entire control over the children. Like if, the wife could leave the husband, but she, until I want to say like the early 1900s, like women had no rights to their children. The children were the property of the husband. So like all these husbands could do this. And it's obviously horrible for anyone in this situation. And it's, in Georgiana's story, it's horrible for her, especially because she was so affectionate towards her children. She was so close to, like, again, like if I just think back to like famously Princess Diana, like you see the videos of her, like Prince Harry as a toddler, like running towards her and flinging her arms around him. It's just like she had such a tactile like relationship with the children in a way that not a lot of mothers of her station would have had. So it was even harder on her and the children to be parted because they were so close.
Definitely. And so Georgiana, she goes to France. She is convinced she's going to die in childbirth. She is so afraid. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that she's away from her living children. So she writes a letter, again, in her blood, to her baby son. What's his name? William or Hart? She says to him in this letter, as soon as you're old enough to understand this letter, it will be given to you. It contains the only present I can make you, my blessing written in my blood. Alas, I am gone before you could know me, but I loved you. I nursed you 9 months at my breast. I love you dearly. Spoiler, she does not die in childbirth, but she was very afraid that she would never see her kids again.
And she also, so she went, like her husband sent her to the continent, like for all of this stuff. But the reason I believe that everyone that he said she was going was because her sister Harriet was ill, which she was often. And so Georgiana was accompanying her. And then Bess also went along because it's just like, when is she not there? So it's just kind of like the three of them they have like, maybe Bess's children are with them. I feel like, or maybe some of Harriet's, like, there's so many children. Like Georgiana's sister Harriet has children, Bess has children, Georgiana has children, Georgiana's children not with them. Some of the other kids, I think, are with them. Anyway, so it's like the three of them just kind of like in exile together, but ostensibly because of Harriet's various health concerns, which I might again do an episode about later, although it's really dark. But her husband seemingly kept trying to murder her, and she kept having health problems that happen when you're being almost murdered by poison constantly. Anyway, so that's like the alleged reason. That's the alleged reason that they're on the continent. So everyone, like people in England kind of knew or suspected, or there were rumors or gossip about that Georgiana was having an illegitimate child, but it was not official knowledge.
Right. Yeah. You brought up a good point though. Like, why didn't they just pretend it was the Duke's child? Like everyone else wouldn't necessarily know, but that must have just been the state of their relationship. And the fact that she was they talk about her being unaffected as a person. Like she's just so earnest and straightforward in all of her dealings. Like maybe it was just never a possibility to pretend it wasn't Charles Grey's child. I don't know.
And I think she's also such a romantic. Like I think she wouldn't have, I don't think she had it in her to deceive anybody except about her gambling debts. But I think she wouldn't have wanted to claim that the child was anyone else's except for Charles Grey's, because she was all about him at this point. But what I find is interesting, so they're basically, like she does not die in childbirth. They're in Europe. And what I find interesting is like during this era, it says, the book, Amanda Foreman's book, The Duchess, says, Georgiana had been free of the urge to gamble during her exile. She had been so preoccupied with other interests, especially her scientific studies, that the problem had never arisen.
Huh.
I find that really interesting because she's had this gambling problem for all of her adult life, starting when she was a teenager. But in this era, when she was, you would think, maybe the most distressed.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it could just be like, who is she surrounded by in England? Like her mother, also like gambling, all of her friends. Like she couldn't avoid
her
being
social circle.
But if no one around her was gambling, she could seemingly easily not do it. So that's interesting. And now for a quick advertising break. Reaching your weight loss goals doesn't have to mean completely changing the way you live your life. What if you could make healthy progress with a treatment plan that included medication, access to 24/7 support, nutrition tips, and tools for tracking movement, hydration, and sleep, all personalized to go at your pace? That's weight loss by Hers. Through Hers, you're connected with a medical provider who determines if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment plan is personalized to support you in reaching your goals. Plus, you can access a range of treatment options like oral medication kits or GLP-1 injectables. They even offer the convenience of 100% online care with licensed providers on the other side who learn your story and create a personalized plan to deliver healthy progress you can maintain. So no more yo-yoing, just steady results. Feel like your best self again. Visit forhers.com/vulgar to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/vulgar, forhers.com/vulgar. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded drug products are not approved or evaluated for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
Yes, online shopping is quite literally at our fingertips, but that doesn't mean it's always simple to buy. Whether it's trying to remember one of a million different logins so you can actually place your order, or getting almost all the way through checkout before realizing your card is nowhere near you, there are many hiccups that can get between you and placing that order. Which is why it's such a relief when you see that purple pay button that has all of your information saved, making checkout as simple as a tap of your screen. That iconic purple Shop Pay button is why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales going to you. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Thrive Cosmetics, Gymshark, and Allbirds, to brands just getting started. And they're not just great at converting sales. If people haven't heard about your brand yet, Shopify can help you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And they have world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. Tackle all of those important tasks from one place, making your life easier and your business operations smoother. See less carts go abandoned and more sales go with Shopify and their Shop Pay button. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. That's shopify.com/realm.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Introducing the new Peloton Cross Training Series, powered by Peloton IQ. Enjoy weekly workout plans tailored to your goals with personalized guidance. With weight suggestions to help you discover new strength and rep tracking so you never lose count. Try the new Cross Training Series, powered by Peloton IQ. Designed for your breakthroughs. Terms apply.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less with Ebglyss, a once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema. After an initial 4-month or longer dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
And we're back.
And she, I think, tried to fill a hole of like affection and just like having a good time with gambling when she was in Britain. But now she's on the continent. She's in France. She's separated from her children. So she, I don't know. She like probably wouldn't have been looking to fill the hole in the same way. And she's older too.
Yeah, true. And she's like traveling around. I think she did some like, it says here she climbed to the top of Mount Vesuvius. She boat trips around the island. She investigated ancient ruins. Like she kept herself busy, even as she was like desperately missing her children. And we need to talk about, so she has a daughter who's named Eliza.
Yes.
And this child, what is decided is that this child would be given to Earl Grey's parents to raise as his younger sister, his much younger sister.
Right. Yeah. So this is like a condition of the Duke eventually letting Georgiana come home. He forbids her to return until the baby is placed elsewhere, and she agrees like not to bring it back with her. But even so, it's like 2 years. She's away for 2 years before she can come back home to her children. So even though she did everything he supposedly asked of her, went away to have the baby, gave it to Grey's family, she's still gone for like an extra year. And she writes letters to her kids. So they're allowed to like have contact with her, but she isn't allowed to return until she also renounces Charles Grey and says she won't have an affair with him anymore.
And that was basically her shitty husband effectively says, like, I will take you back if you renounce Charles Grey, if you will never have anything to do with your child. You will never tell the child. It's like
which is so shitty, because do we need to remind this man that his illegitimate children from other women live in Georgiana's
in their house?
Yeah, with her.
Georgiana's raising them.
Multiple other women have had multiple children, and they all are being raised by Georgiana.
And she's he's doing this, I think, in part because he knows that this will devastate her. Like, this is why this is his condition. Like, he knows how much she loves children. He knows how much she loves her children. She knows how much this will affect her. So it's basically either stay with your child and be penniless and never see your other children, or abandon this one child and come back to your life you had before. And it's a hard decision, but she decides to estrange herself from Eliza and go back to her shitty husband.
Yeah,
because it's a better option. Like, also, she has all these debts, right? She can't.
She's the Duchess. People would start to ask questions. And I mean, she is eventually allowed to see Eliza, the child, as she grows up. She kind of is in her life as like a godparent or a favorite aunt would be. But Eliza doesn't know Georgiana's her mom. I think everyone else knows, but Eliza doesn't know.
Eliza doesn't know for a long time.
She learns after Georgiana dies that was her biological mother. And eventually she names her own daughter Georgiana, and her second daughter is Elizabeth Georgiana. So eventually she knows. And Georgiana also writes her poetry. There's like really lavish poems. One of them, she says, "Unhappy child of indiscretion, poor slumberer on a breast forlorn, pledge of reproof of past transgression, dear though unfortunate to be born." So that's a really heartbreaking like tension. Like, I love this child, even though she was born out of like really terrible circumstances all around. Like, everyone was miserable because she came along. So the psychological trauma, I guess, continues into the next generation in that way.
And part of like when she would go to visit Eliza as just kind of like this friend of the family, she would see that they were raising her in what was a more conventional parenting style. Especially they were older parents, right? Because they were her lover's parents.
Right.
They would be grandparent age, but they were raising her much more emotionally distant than the like Rousseauian way that Georgiana wanted to. So she saw that her daughter was not getting the hugs and the affection that she would have given. So I think that was very distressing for her to see that her child was not being raised the way that she would have herself.
Yeah, that's a good point. But she gives up Charles Grey so she can go home to return to her other children. She writes at one point about giving him up. She says she had left her heart and soul. He has one consolation, that I have given him up for my children only. So I think she really loved him.
Yeah, and he does get married, Charles Grey, to a woman also called Mary. And then Georgiana becomes great friends with her.
Yeah. They name one of their kids Georgiana as well. Gray marries a woman named Mary Elizabeth Ponsonby. They have 16 children together. 16. 10 boys and 6 girls. One of them is stillborn. So that's insane.
And there's Mary Ponsonby, God bless your inner organs from that experience.
Yeah. And she was a prime minister's wife. Whew.
Yeah. And,
couldn't have been easy.
And Lady Grey Tea.
Lady Grey Tea.
That's the lady.
It must be, right?
Right? Yeah. And I think part of what I read about, just to get back to my favorite topic, Earl Grey tea, I believe that she was such a well-renowned hostess. Like, she would serve the Earl Grey tea at her parties, and that's part of what popularized it, was because people drink it at their house, and they're like, well, this is good. What's this bud? Oh, it's called Earl Grey. Oh, well, we'll serve it at my house too. So I think she was involved in the popularization of the tea.
Fantastic. So yeah, G kind of, she parts ways with them for the short term, but eventually I think these are all people in the same social circle, the political stuff still linking them all together. So when things cool down, it seems like they can still be in touch. But this is kind of like the end of the Keira Knightley movie when she ends her affair and goes home. She lives another 15 years. Like, she's still got another couple chapters of her life story, which
it's very much a new era for her. And this is an era of her being less in the public eye. And part of it is raising her children, who she has, reconnecting with them after she was apart from them for 2 years, especially her son Hart, who's a baby when she left. When she came back, he didn't recognize her. He would scream when she tried to hug him. And eventually it turns out he'd had a fever at one point that in her absence, and it made him deaf, partially or mostly deaf. And this effect, nobody realized that at first. And then so Georgiana blamed herself for not being there, because maybe she would have noticed the fever and she could have treated it. But especially he and her have a really rocky road to reconnecting, because he doesn't remember her. And he's also got this disability now, and he doesn't like being touched, but she's a very touching person.
Right.
So I think she's not so much of the, starting trends and going out on the town and throwing parties. She's much just taking care of her children. / we mentioned before, she loves her crystals, she loves her minerals.
Yes.
And she pivots even in terms of politics. She's still keeping up to date with stuff, but she's not out there rallying up the vote or anything. What she's doing instead is filling her days with lectures at the Royal Academy, conducting chemistry experiments, and studying mineralogy. The fossils and minerals she had acquired while abroad formed the core of a collection to which she was continually adding. So she embraces her woman in STEM.
Yeah. Well, STEAM, because she's also writing her poetry. She even wrote a song for a play that becomes a hit, a smash hit. So it is a new era for her. I also want to note, there were some sources saying she had a miscarriage during this era, but she is at home with the Duke, being a dutiful Duchess at this point. He has gout also, so she's home caring for him. So there is speculation the relationship between them also takes on a new tone and softens, but I think that's only speculation.
I think that what we will see as the story progresses is this is kind of the best their relationship ever is, when she's taking care of him as he's dealing with various illnesses, because all she's doing is paying attention to him and not being a famous celebrity in the world. And he's like, I like this wife devoted only to me. Yeah.
Do we think he has mommy issues? Do you think that's what it is?
He has various issues. It's clear. His parents died when he was very young, I think. And there's something about his role. He was sort of like Prinny. Prinny always wanted to join the army, but he wasn't allowed to. I think this Duke wanted to do more than he was allowed to because he was the heir to this vast fortune. So I think he felt trapped by circumstances.
Yeah, we never said he becomes the Lord High Treasurer of Ireland and the Governor of Cork. He's also the Lord Lieutenant of Derbyshire. And like I said in the first part, he's invited to join the cabinet, but he declines every time. So I think there you can see he is doing his duty, but nothing else, no more, no extra.
He's an interesting figure to me compared to just people like Louis XVI or other husbands that I've talked about recently on the podcast, where it's he's not a good husband to Georgiana, but it's not because he's not interested in women. It's not because he's not interested in sex. There's something going on with him internally. It seems like he and Bess have an okay relationship, and he treats her much better than he treats Georgiana. So it's I can't get a handle on this guy, really.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily want to read a biography of him, but I wonder what would be in there. I want someone to give me the Cliff's Notes of that biography.
But I do want to make it clear that Bess is still on the scene. Obviously,
yes,
Bess is
very much so.
Ever since she entered this story, she's never not.
No, she's here. She's also doing better because her estranged husband, so not the Duke, but the guy who abandoned her and kept her children from her for quite a while, he dies. And because they were still married, she gets a nice widow's settlement. She also gets her 2 sons back, so they're restored to her, and she is free to remarry. And I found a little bit more about Bess than I had originally known. So just like her best friend Georgiana is a duchess, she now wants to be a duchess. So she first goes after the Duke of Richmond, whose wife has also recently died. I guess the Duke had also always been infatuated with Bess. They kind of have a will they won't they for a year, even though they are mourning their respective spouses. They can't get married right away. And by the end of that year, he isn't really about it anymore. He doesn't want to marry her. So she strikes out the first time she tries to become a duchess, like her bestie Georgiana.
So she's just she's never not striving. Bess is just the archetypical gold digger.
I
but
want
it's
more.
What else can she do? Yeah. Well, she just wants security and a home. And yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I do want to mention about Georgiana. So she's doing her own science experiments and stuff, writing songs and whatever, but she became a patron of promising scientists. Just like in her earlier era, she'd been a patron of young actors. One of her most notable successes was she sponsored this guy, Dr. Thomas Beddoes, whose institute she helped to establish, which resulted in the discovery of laughing gas.
Oh, I bet she loved that stuff.
I bet she did.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
And then we mentioned the eye issue. So this is around the time that I don't know. I didn't consult with any of my doctor friends about this, but so she has migraines. That's an ongoing thing that she's dealing with in her life. And then also she just gets this swollen eye. It's the size of
it's bad.
It's huge. It's I don't know, some sort of infection. And then the doctors are well, so they gave her all kinds of horrific olden times medicine. She could only stay in a darkened room. She couldn't see light.
Yeah. They, at one point, in an attempt to increase blood flow to her head to counteract the inflammation of her eye, they squeeze her neck to the point that she's almost strangled to death, because that's what medicine was doing at this time. Ugh, it's just gruesome. There is an article on Amanda Foreman's website where she quotes I.G. Schraebman, who has written about this. And there's some conjecture on what she would have been suffering from. So they suggest that she had cavernous sinus thrombosis. Ugh.
Whatever it was, she did eventually recover from it. Her eye went down to normal size, but she lost vision in that eye for good. And I think her vision in her other eye was affected. But this is also sort of and she was oh my God, I'm so deformed. Nobody can look at me. But people who saw her at the time were she looks fine. She's maybe just a little
figure.
Sagging, but she's just oh, I'm it's you look fine. But, for somebody who was such a glamorous figure, to look even slightly different. So she was just living this sort of quiet life. She got really involved in landscaping, botany on her various estates. She
gets back into politics too.
She does eventually get back into politics, yes.
Yeah, because the Whigs have been kind of out in the cold for 2 decades, and they're kind of reforming at this time. So she briefly gets back into politics. I don't know much more than that.
Well, I think she just kind of she's never not been involved in it, but this is where she gets back into politics, and that's where her husband is just kind of
meh.
He's unhappy. He liked when all that she did was take care of him, and now that the attention is back on her and she has other hobbies, he starts treating her more cruelly because that's his psychology.
Yeah. Also in 1800, she gets to see little G come out into society. So her oldest daughter, she marries Lord Morph in 1801. That is the son of the Earl Carlisle. So this is, Georgiana gets to see one of her children get married. And that's the only one, sadly.
Yeah. Well, and in terms of coming out in society, this is the Bridgerton of it all, right?
It is, yeah.
So
1800, we're in the Regency, right?
No, we're not. Still not.
Not yet?
No.
Close.
But the balls are being held. You have to go and meet Queen Charlotte and introduce yourself and stuff. And so her older daughter, little G, resembles her mother. I think little G is much more of a Princess Diana personality. She's much she's tall and striking, but shy. Where Georgiana is tall and striking and
both the Duke and Duchess mixed together in little G. Yeah. Crazy how that works.
Yeah, interesting. But so little G makes her debut in society, and it's like, wow, she's striking, but she's not,
not built for this world. Yeah.
But she does. Yeah. She finds a wealthy husband, and
good for her.
Like I think Georgiana, ever since the eye incident, like she's and she's always had migraines and stuff. Like she's involved in politics. She's kind of helping out behind the scenes, but she's like certainly slowing down, and I think that's a lot of health related. But what's not slowing down is her gambling debts. So at some point in this kind of like final era, she does come clean, asterisk, still not entirely,
right,
about how many debts she had. And her husband tried to pay off as many as he could. But like she really, I think she is sort of like a later in life, well, just not that her life is long, but like towards the end of her life, just she has sort of like a religious breakthrough where she's like, I want to do better. I want to be better. Like, and I need to sort of like in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's like, I need to make amends. Like I need to, I can't just run away from my problems. I need to deal with them. So this is where she finally like confesses what her debts are. And her husband, I think, helps to pay off some of them.
Yeah. I mean, and like we were saying, they do kind of enter a new phase of their relationship at this point, to the point that after she passes away, he is called most deeply effective, showing more feeling than anyone thought possible. So I think clearly in the end years of their marriage, they do, I don't know, kind of renegotiate the terms of their relationship a little bit. Maybe her as, a 17-year-old wife wasn't his ideal woman, but as the mother of his children, both legitimate and illegitimate, he must have respected her at least a little bit.
And so when she does pass away, do you know how old she was?
She was 48.
Yeah. And I think it's illness related, just like various.
Yeah. So it was in 1806, and she had all these illnesses leading up to that point. Historians think that she died of an abscess of the liver. Again, possibly a side effect of her years of hard living catching up with her.
Yeah.
So she dies in Piccadilly at Devonshire House, the family's townhouse. Thousands of people congregate in front of the house because this is the most famous woman of the... It would be like if you knew where Princess Diana had died, right? And think about people leaving flowers at Kensington Palace. Yeah. And it's just this public moment of collective grief.
Well, and especially because like she's 46. She became famous when she was, 16 or 18? Mm-hmm. Like there's so many people who remember her at her like prime, like her peak fame, but then she's never not been famous. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prinny says of her, the best natured and best bred woman in England is gone. It's like, okay, Prinny, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Prinny. It means so much coming from you. She passes away, and then I'm not sure how much long after that, but who her husband marries is Beth.
Surprise, surprise. Yep. Yeah. So 3 years after her death, Lady Elizabeth marries the Duke. Georgiana's children are not happy about this. So her kids, they get along with Bess's children and like the Duke's other kids by
they
however
were all
others.
Together.
They were raised together. The kids all get along, but Georgiana's children hated Bess. She always like pleaded with them like to like give her a chance. She's my best friend. Like your dad loves her, but they were not having any of it. When Bess marries the Duke, the scripts kind of flips. Historical records kind of show the Duke gave Bess's daughter £30,000 as a dowry when she marries George Lamb, but only gives Harry-O $10,000 when she gets married. So there's some weird like interfamilial stuff going on. However, Bess only gets to be married and be the Duchess for 2 years because the Duke dies in 1811.
And then I just want to mention Bess does wind up in Rome, is where she kind of lives her later years.
So I have a couple points on her later years. So she fights because she's the second Duchess of the fifth Duke, right? So she fights to keep properties, which she is not entitled to because there's a new Duke now. It's Georgiana's son. She really, really tries to get some property for herself. And she also insists that her son, Clifford, has the right to use the Duke's like crest, like his coat of arms. So she, I don't know, she's a crafty one. also goes public at this point with the paternity of her illegitimate children, which again, people knew, but like it hadn't ever been confirmed, to the point where she's like airing dirty laundry to the point where the new Duke, Georgiana's son, basically bribes Bess to leave England. So this is why she ends up in Rome. She kind of just gets out of there. She lives in Rome for the rest of her life. She becomes a patron of the arts, and she has a torrid affair with a cardinal of the Catholic Church,
Cardinal
which is
Consalvi.
so fun.
So this is where she shows up in my book. I don't know if she actually shows up in my book, but she did show up in my research, and it confused me because in my book, Rebel of the Regency, I made the choice to always call people by kind of their first name or their title, like to not. If a title moves from one person to another, I don't refer to the new person as that former title.
Right.
And that was partially because other authors don't do this. And I was reading a book that was talking about Caroline of Brunswick goes to Rome. She meets Cardinal Consalvi, and it says, and the Duchess of Devonshire was so mean to her. And I was like, didn't the Duchess of Devonshire die 20 years prior to this?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, Georgiana died.
The second.
So to call two different people in the same book, the Duchess of Devonshire, well, one of them is so famous as the Duchess of Devonshire.
Yeah, right.
So that's how I knew she was in Rome. And Cardinal Consalvi was very mean to Caroline of Brunswick. So that's what I know.
Interesting. So we cannot stand. Yeah. She is known also as an amateur archaeologist. She funds excavations of the Forum. So she and Georgina were both women in STEM. Georgiana died in Rome 18 years to the day after Georgiana. That's how badly this woman wanted to be Georgiana. She dies on March 30th, 1824. Rumor has it that she had a locket around her neck with Georgiana's curls inside, as well as a hair bracelet next to her bed.
Yeah, Georgiana. So this is like the whole, like their relationship is just so strange and sort of unfathomable. But lots of people today have lots of relationships that a biographer couldn't necessarily dictate. But Bess was important to Georgiana, and Bess
and the Duke. I mean, she gets married with both of them in the Cavendish family vault because she's the Duchess, and so was Georgiana. So they're all together like for eternity.
It's, like I'm trying to think, a different version of the story would be like, and Bess kills Georgiana so she could marry.
Yeah, it's like single white female. Yeah. She just kind of
Georgiana was just so nice.
Yeah, you can't do that to her.
Like, I think they did have a legitimate friendship. It was just, but everybody else didn't like her and were so suspicious and thought her motives were so obvious, except for Georgiana, who was just like, no, that's just my friend. It's like, she's clearly trying to take over your life. And Georgiana's like, well, that's fine. But
this could be a horror movie as well as a black comedy. Yeah.
The whole thing and that's where I was just kind of like, because there's lots of readings of the situation. And part of it is this a bisexual thing? Is this, did they have a sexual relationship? Or like the fact that Bess was sleeping with a husband, but Georgiana was also sleeping with a husband. Like it's an unusual situation to try to understand.
Yeah.
Like there's certainly lots of people in history where there's a husband with a wife and a mistress, but the wife and the mistress are never like intense
living together.
Friends.
Yeah.
Happily, seemingly loving each other's company. Like that's where people are just like, so then they must have been also in love. So it's like, I'm not to say what is up, but I do know that
I don't think we can ever understand because we don't live in this world. And I don't know. But for all that, we can say Georgiana's son is the one that becomes the next Duke. Eventually he tries to like right some of the wrongs of the previous generation. He gives his illegitimate sisters their dowries, and he helps to settle Georgiana's debts. And he's even helpful to Bess's children. It's just Bess that he could not stand, but he helps Clifford become a baronet. So yeah.
Well, like you said, like earlier, I think in part one, just after she dies, Georgiana's husband and son put out a public notice being like, hey, did Georgiana owe you money?
It's like, it would be an infomercial. Like if you have been impacted by like mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation, except it's Georgiana's gambling debts.
Yeah. So they took care of that for her after that. But Hart, her son, in terms of just queer history, it seems like he never married and he had various like male companions and stuff. So that's where Amanda Foreman suggests like maybe Why do I keep saying that?
You're getting them mixed up now.
Georgiana, they're all one person. Georgiana felt like personality-wise, her son Hart was the most similar to her. And Amanda Foreman suggests like maybe part of that similarity was Hart was queer, and maybe Georgiana also was.
Oh.
Because he
That's
never
an interesting angle.
He never had any children. He had like male favorites and stuff. And she would have wanted him to become like the next big wig sensation, but because of his deafness.
The next big wig.
But because of his deafness, like he was never able to, like he couldn't go and debate in a room full of people. Like, so, but he just, like her behind the scenes was just kind of like supporting and stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's the time where we need to give Georgiana, Duchess of Devonshire, her scores. In 4
I forgot to do this ahead of time, so we're going to do this on the fly.
We're going to do it live. Well, and I never prepare. I always just think of it as I do it.
Perfect.
So the first category is scandaliciousness. How scandalous was she seen by people in her time and era?
And it's 1 to 10?
It's 1 to 10. My thought process is like, well, she did have an illegitimate child, and she was doing like the political stuff. Like there were people who found that scandalous, but then not everyone knew about the illegitimate child, and not everyone found the political stuff scandalous. Like she was so beloved by just like an everyday person. It's not just like, who's this hussy? Like people
wanted to like accept everything she did, I think, as evidenced in the fact that she was like a darling for most of her time in the public eye. Like everyone in England loved her except for her husband. I want to say a 6 feels right. Possibly a 7.
I feel like a 6 is appropriate because it's funny because she did things that on another person would have been seen as scandalous, but because she was so wealthy,
she just owned it too.
And she was so just sweet. People just loved her. Like, it's like, well, we can't be mad at you. It's like, yeah, you're addicted to gambling and opium, but like, who isn't? Like, that's fine.
And there were other more scandalicious people doing other things at this time. So it might be a case of relative, like, calm. I think 6.
Yeah, I think 6 because she did do things that were scandalous, but she's not out there intentionally trying to shock people. Part of it's funny, sort of like some of the scandalous stuff she did was just because she was so almost passive in a way. She was just like, oh, that's fine. Like my husband's mistress wants to move with us. Oh, that's fine.
Things just happened to her.
Her lack of action just kind of made things a bit.
She didn't. Yeah, I agree with that.
So the next category is the scheminess.
It's a 1. How did she scheme? She orchestrated good political campaigns. Did she do anything else besides plan a good party? I don't think so.
No, like in terms of even if she was scheming, she would have like, oh my God, I think I'm pregnant. I'm going to scheme to like sleep with my husband. So he'll think the child is his. But she's just so upfront and honest.
Or
she's
like help people during the French Revolution rather than just being there as some kind of disaster tourist.
Yeah. And then she went back to England. And it's like, oh, you could have arranged for some of your friends to be sent to England, but you didn't. She was not a scheming person, and that's fine.
And she didn't have to be.
So in terms of significance, I want to read you a passage, just a sec. Okay. So in the epilogue, Amanda Foreman writes, Georgiana should be credited with being one of the first to refine political messages for mass communication. She was an image maker who understood the necessity of public relations, and she became adept at the manipulation of political symbols and the dissemination of party propaganda. So her influence with sort of like going out and meeting and greeting with people, like that kind of changed how politics operated.
Yeah.
I think her just being a woman being in the political sphere kind of set up the scene for other people to do similar things later on. She sponsored the guy who invented laughing gas.
Yeah. And I'm thinking too, like, there is stuff we can't really measure. Like Charles Grey was prime minister when the slave trade was abolished in Britain. But like how much of his footing was based on the fact that Georgiana was in his orbit? We don't know. It's hard to quantify that.
Yeah. Like she was behind the scenes sort of just like, and she also sponsored like people who became really successful performers, like Sarah Siddons. Like she was a patron of her. Like it's hard to quantify because so much of what she did was behind the scenes and then someone else did a thing.
She's a little humble about it too.
Yeah. And like without her support, a lot of like some of these people wouldn't have been successful.
Yeah. It's hard to prove a negative. Like a 7 or an 8? I don't know. Is that too high?
No, I think we can make up some points here because she lost so many points in scheminess, but I think her significance is
she comes with a lot. in just accounts of the era too.
She's always there. Like her involvement, like we did not focus on the politics of it all, but she was really important to the politics. Like of just like finding the new people and sort of like finding the rising stars and like grooming them to take over. And like, I think her political influence is very significant in a way that I can't quantify because I skipped a lot of those parts of the book.
Yeah.
But I know that the Whig Party might have collapsed without her support, like both financial and also just her like person skills. And she was like behind the scenes, like advising Prinny. Like I feel like she had like an invisible influence on the whole.
And she wrote a book.
And she wrote a book and she wrote a song that became a hit song. And she got everyone wearing ostrich feathers.
Yeah.
And, you know,
poofs.
The poofs, all the dresses, the brown. She invented brown.
Like, there was also like a dance she invented. I think they said a Devonshire minuet. So I'm going to say 7 or an 8 and you choose.
I'm going to say 8. I'm going to say 8 because
all right.
I think her influence she's one of the most famous people from this time period. Even if someone doesn't really know what she did, like somehow she just became a figure.
She's connected to all these things. Yeah.
Every biography of anyone from this era, she's going to pop up in somehow.
Yep.
Unless it's Bess popping up being like, I'm the Duchess of Devonshire. It's like, no, you're not. You're in Rome. You're in Rome.
Get out of here, Bess. Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Okay, this is interesting, which is funny. The whole Gretchen Wieners of it all. So, because Bess was kind of had that Gretchen Wieners energy as well, but Georgiana did too. Anyway, so sexism bonus is how much was she held back by her gender?
Yeah.
And it's like she did accomplish what she did accomplish, but also just the fact that like she was married off really young. So much of her first part of her life, her first era, was just because she was married so young and she did not have children right away. She was at loose ends, and then she started partying and gambling and like
to
if that hadn't been an expectation on her. But we see that she has these interests in science and writing and all these other things. Like, had she not been in a society where the most important thing she could do was give birth to a son, like maybe she wouldn't have amassed the gambling debts because she would have.
I mean, and she could have been the politician running the campaign and getting elected rather than getting men elected, right? She could have been the prime minister because she had the social skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's up there. It's I think a high sexism bonus. But that's before we even get to being exiled from your children because you've had one child out of wedlock when your husband has had at least 3 who, again, I can't stress this enough, live in your house with you. So there's that.
Yeah. And
she was a very privileged person, but the issues she rubs up against are almost all because of sexism.
Exactly. I was just going to say like that she was exiled, but then she was forced to not be connected to her daughter, to her illegitimate daughter. When she was
the lover.
Or the lover. Yeah. Like all of her problems, you're right. Like, except for like gambling debts were based on.
Well, no, because even the gambling debts, I think, are a side effect of she can't produce the male heir. And that's like the only thing she is deemed like important for in this world. It's a high sexism bonus.
I think it would be. I think she, like we see when she was able to just do like her science experiments or like her home redecorations or the politics. It's like when she was able to just do what she was interested in, she thrived.
Everything she did very well.
Yeah. And it's just that the society and the patriarchy was just kind of like, but you know what you didn't do well? Have a son. Like, that was so important. So I don't know how high would you go with that?
She does. I mean, she does subvert it because that's I think why she is so successful in her fashion and messaging through her clothing. That's her way of expressing herself. So she does navigate it well, but I hate that she had to.
Yeah. Well, for comparison, for instance, there's an episode I have coming out in a bit that's about Margaret Beaufort, who like the mother of the Tudor dynasty. And like
I have lots of feelings, complicated feelings.
So talking about her, where it's just like sexism, it's like she's someone else who's like, if she had been the monarch, like, well, the fact like that she was married off at age 12, had a child when she was 13, almost died. And like that colors everything. And she had to keep marrying husbands. So it's like that got in her way in a specific way, but she was able to still work within the system. And I feel like Georgiana found ways to work within the system, but
how much easier would it have been if she could just go do the things without being hampered by that?
Exactly.
So
is it a 7 again?
I was going to say 7. I was thinking
This feels
7.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's because a 10 out of 10 in this category is like Sophia Dorothea, the queen who was like trapped in a tower for 25 years.
Yeah.
For having an affair. It's like, that's a 10 out of 10. Like her life was stopped.
Or like a Queen Boudica, right? Who has to go fight the Romans because of all the horrors they inflicted upon her.
Yeah. So like Georgiana, she found ways to thrive, but she could have thrived.
She shouldn't have had to. Yeah, exactly. I think 7.
So this is her. I like where this lands her, which is at a 22.
Okay, respectable.
So she's a 22. And do you know who has a 21.5? Is Gabrielle de Polignac.
Amazing.
So she's right there next to her. And she stayed in contact with her. Like they were long distance pen pals. Like when the flight to Varennes happened and stuff, like Gabrielle de Polignac, like she was able to flee Versailles. And so like she and Georgiana were exchanging letters. Like they stayed in touch.
Good for them. I like being your 21, 22 on the scale guest. It's a comfortable place. It's not as tragic as some of the other ones.
Exactly. It's people who they had Empress Sisi is a 21. I think she's someone else who could have had a much better life if not for the like have a son of it all. Madame du Barry, 15. Like she didn't have a thought for it. Yeah. So thank you so much for this episode. Like I felt like the combination of the time and the place, because it overlaps with like the stuff that we've talked about before, the Versailles and everything, but then also the art element of it, and then the royal family element. I'm like, this is a Amanda episode. Like I needed you to be a guest.
I was so excited when you asked me to come on for this one, and I'm excited for the other one we're going to discuss in a little bit.
We will. That's coming up in a few months. We'll be talking. We mentioned before, but we're going to do Emma Hamilton, who is also going to be a 2-part episode, I'm pretty sure.
There's a lot there, to dissect.
Another person with eras. But yes, please remind everybody how they can keep up with you and follow you.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Matta of Fact. That's MATTA _of fact. You can also find me on the twice weekly podcast Off With Their Headlines. That is royal news, but also dissecting the media around the royals, crazy headlines, the narratives, all of it. That's really fun. That's anywhere you get your podcasts. Just search Off With Their Headlines. And then I also have a newsletter, The Fascinator, that's on Substack twice a week as well. Again, royal news and commentary, but I do some essays and stuff on there too. So yeah, I don't have a pre-order link for the book yet, but I'll have more about that to share in a future episode. My book, The Royal Tea, TEA, of course, is coming out in spring 2027.
And just to be clear, your book is about the history of the royal family and scandals. It's not about the history of Earl Grey tea.
No. Yeah, it's history. I mean, I kind of think of it as like a field guide to royal world. Like anything you would need to know, any like frequently asked question that I get about the monarchy, I have tried to answer in the book. So it's going to be really great, illustrated, just a beautiful packaged gift for anyone who either loves the monarchy or like hates that they're fascinated by the monarchy but can't look away. Like I'm trying to straddle that line.
Well, and I think like that's what you do with your content as well. You're being like, here's what the royals are up to. And it's like people watch you because they hate to follow it, but they're interested in people follow you because they love the royals. So you're just kind of like, here's the facts and like feel how you feel.
Here's my thought on it and you can make up your own mind. I'm not telling you how to feel. And I get people too that say like, I'm not interested in the royals, but the way, I'm not to toot my own horn, but the way you break down the situation and the story is just so engrossing. And I think that's a testament to like royalty itself, just sucking us in no matter what era. But yeah, I mainly talk about the modern royals, but my background, like you mentioned in part 1, is art history. So the historical context and the characters are also fascinating to me. So I love that I get to mash it all together in my commentary.
No, and I can't wait until your book comes out. Like I'll get
you a copy for sure.
The number one cheerleader, but I will be up there in the upper echelon of people just like
it's going to be so good. You're going to die. I'll send you offline the illustrator that I think we're going to get for it. Because it's going to be so good.
I'm so excited about the illustrations. That's so great.
Yeah.
My book, which I'll talk about in a second, but my book has like portraits in the middle. It was really important to me to have like a book that has like the glossy color.
I love those books. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, I want that. And I think because so much of the Caroline of Brunswick story is about the visuals and how she harnessed that and the tabloid press, like I just really wanted people to know.
Yeah. It's important, I think.
Yeah. The image making.
Your book is beautiful, by the way. I was a little amused when you said, like, I sent you a picture of it when it came to me in the mail, and you were like, I think you're the first person to get it. I'm so honored. But that era, the Regency, like, even if people don't think they know anything about the Regency, they definitely do. And the visuals, I think, are what ground you in that time, whether it's Bridgerton or the portraits of, George or the satire, like whatever. I think the visuals are important. So yeah, you did a great job. Everyone should go buy your book.
Thank you so much. And to remind everybody, it's called Rebel of the Regency, the scandal saga of Caroline of Brunswick, Britain's uncrowned queen. And it will be available in Canada, the US, the UK, and Australia on February 10th. You can get all the information about it and your pre-order. All the links are there at rebeloftheregency.com. And when you pre-order it, it's been interesting because I have this form that people fill out. Like, they send me the receipt and then I send them like which of the treats they want. They can get a free membership on Patreon or my Substack or the paper doll. And it's been like increasing in frequency. Like, people are like realizing it's coming out.
They're on it. Yeah.
They're on it. They're on it now more than they had been. So you can do that up until February 10th. Basically, you can send me your receipts and get your little treats, but also please join me at the book launch event, which is going to be Friday the 13th. I love that it's Friday the 13th.
My parents got engaged on Friday the 13th. It's an auspicious day, I think.
I think it's an auspicious day. And I also think it's sort of like, it would be weird if my event was like February 14th, because it is not a romantic book.
Yeah. You should dress up like one of the witches from Macbeth for your book launch party.
Absolutely.
Georgiana.
Yes. I'll show up with an ostrich feather in my hat or something. Yeah. But anyway, so I'm going to be doing the launch in person here where I live in Saskatoon in Canada. So if you're here, come drop by McNally Robinson Bookstore, which is our independent bookstore, on Friday the 13th at 7 p.m. If you're not here, it's going to be live streamed. So I'll put the YouTube link in the show notes to this episode so everybody can participate from wherever you are in the world. And that'll be really exciting. And then I have another event in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and further events coming up later when we're out of like blizzard season. Like, it's not really like I'm doing these two cities because those are kind of my two hometowns. But once we're out of, when it's like, I don't want to show up in whatever, Philadelphia or somewhere, and it's like, oh, guess what? All the flights are grounded because of snow. Like,
yeah, it's risky.
Later this spring, I'm hoping to go to other places. So stay tuned for information about that. And otherwise, Amanda, thank you so much. This was it's such a treat to talk to you. Georgiana,
I always enjoy it too.
Like, everybody out there, like, let's just invent our own accents. Let's just like start pronouncing things in new and interesting ways. That's how we can keep our memory alive. And thank you so much for joining me. And to everybody, keep your pants on and your tits out. Vulgar History is researched, scripted, and hosted by Anne Foster. Editor is Christina Lumagi. Theme music is by the Severn Duo. Regency-era artwork by Karen Moynihan. Social media videos by Magdalena Denson. Transcripts of this podcast are available at vulgarhistory.com by Aveline Malik. You can get early, ad-free episodes of Vulgar History by becoming a paid member of our Patreon at patreon.com/AnneFosterWriter. Vulgar History merchandise is available at vulgarhistory.com/store for Americans and at vulgarhistory.redbubble.com for everyone else. Follow us on social media at Vulgar History Pod. Get in touch with me at vulgarhistorypod@gmail.com.
Oh, please, not that music. That music gives me nightmares from my childhood.
Could we get something a little bit lighter? Some lighter music here.
Are you a fan of true crime TV shows?
And what about Unsolved Mysteries, the show that jump-started all of our love of true crime?
I'm Ellen Marsh.
And I'm Joey Taranto.
And we host I Think Not, a true crime comedy podcast covering some of the wildest stories from your favorite true crime campy TV shows all the way to Unsolved Mysteries.
Baby, you will laugh, you will cry, you'll think about true crime in a whole new way, and you'll also ask yourself, who gave these people mics?
New episodes of I Think Not are released every Wednesday with bonus episodes out every Thursday on Patreon.
And every Monday, you can listen to our True Crime Rundown, where we go over the top true crime headlines of the week.
So come and join us wherever you listen to your podcasts.
For 8 years, we've been asking the same question over and over again. How did this happen? My name's Mandy.
And I'm Melissa, and we're the hosts of Moms and Mysteries, the true crime podcast with over 55 million downloads.
We're two Florida moms who are obsessed with mysteries. Each week, we do deep dives into fascinating true crime stories.
We cover everything from infamous cases like Casey Anthony
to the bizarre and complex crimes right here in our home state, like the shocking murder of FSU professor Dan Markell.
We bring you the facts, but with warmth and wit you'd only get from two friends who have been hooked on mysteries since childhood.
Join us for new episodes of Moms and Mysteries every Tuesday and Thursday.
Listen to Moms and Mysteries on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
The war is over, and both sides lost. Kingdoms were reduced to cinders, and armies scattered like bones in the dust. Now the survivors claw to what's left of a broken world, praying the darkness chooses someone else tonight. But in the Shadow Dark, the darkness always wins. This is old school adventuring at its most cruel. Your torch ticks down in real time, and when that flame dies, something else rises to finish the job. This is a brutal rules-light nightmare with a story that emerges organically based on the decisions that the characters make. This is what it felt like to play RPGs in the 80s, and man, it is so good to be back. Join the Glass Cannon podcast as we plunge into the Shadow Dark every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/theglasscannon, with the podcast version dropping the next day. See what everybody's talking about and join us in the dark.